Ebullient greetings. I'm your host, Jackie Bird of Jackie Bird Spiritual Wellness, your guide to stress and anxiety relief, mindfulness, awareness, self care, self love, and personal growth. Welcome and thank you for joining me as we roll with peace in mind. Today's riff is Are You on the Right Train? Riding on the Urge. These episodes feature people who are doing their thing, they follow their heart and their passion, and they create how they want, what they want, when they want. And they are riding on the right train. Today's spotlight is the fabulous Valarie Pettiford. Yay! Girl, thank you.
Hilarity, hilarity, hilarity.
We are cackling, okay? First of all, you are getting ready to hear from the most fantastic Valarie Pettiford, okay? I am so grateful that you are doing this again with me. Okay, so I had a little, okay. I'll tell you what. I am known to some people as Lucy, and as in I Love Lucy show. So I had a Lucy moment the last time that we spoke. We did this fantastic, almost an hour, and we were like, okay, we took a break. We're going to come back in, and we did the second part, and then I saved it. But Zoom doesn't tell you that you're going to overwrite what you already have. It just saves it. And so, to my horror, the second part overrode the first part of the interview. It hurts to say that. It hurts to say it. It is hurting me to say it. But that's what happens.
Okay. It's okay. Stuff happens.
Stuff happens. So anyway, Val is so gracious to do this again with me. So I am so excited to talk to you. First of all, I had not seen her. You.
Yes.
Golly, 25 years?
Yeah. Right? Right?
Is that? Oh.
When was the last time we saw each other?
The last time that we saw each other in the flesh was I had come backstage to tell you how incredibly otherworldly fantastic you were in Fosse, which was playing on Broadway.
Okay, so that was 99, 98. Okay. 1999, 98, 99.
Great. Okay, yeah. So yeah, it's been a while, but I have been seeing her on so much. So without further ado, I'm going to say, please introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and then give us okay. I'm like getting ahead of myself. I'm so excited. Okay. All right.
I know.
So tell us.
So hello, gang. Hello, beautiful people from Jackie the Bird's podcast. My name is Valarie Pettiford. I am from New York. I was born in the South Bronx and I was raised in Queens. And I'm just so honored and thrilled to be here. And for folks who don't know me, I'm an actor and I'm a singer and I'm a dancer. And reconstructor as well. So.
Yes, that's right. And teacher and master teacher.
Right. Teacher and a producer. And yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. I've done some stuff.
Yes, she's done a little bit. So anyway, the interesting thing, I think one of the biggest things I learned about you is I always thought you were from Queens. I didn't know that you were born in the Bronx.
Mm-hmm. Born in the South Bronx. Only spent 2 years there. So at the age of 2, my parents and my sister and I moved to Queens. So it's not like, I was, totally raised in the Bronx, but I'm proud of being born in the South Bronx and raised in Queens.
Well, the thing, Queens, you ended up becoming a part of this incredible legacy out of Queens. So just to give a little background, for those of you that don't know, I spent I guess the first part of my life in showbiz. And Valpet, we were teenagers when we met.
Yeah.
We were
Yep.
we
Yes, young and lovely.
we were young and lovely. Now we're just a little. We're still young and lovely.
We're seasoned.
We're seasoned. We're seasonally young and lovely. But we but we met. I my first job was teaching at the Police Athletic League, and I worked for a woman named Kitty Kirby, and that's how we met.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And also, that was my first professional job. Was
Oh, wow.
Police Athletic Club. Yep.
Wow,
Yep.
wow, wow.
Yes, yes.
That's crazy. And the thing is, like, I stumbled across um Kitty Kirby had this life-size poster in her office of you, myself, and this gentleman whose name I no longer remember. We were in a number, we were supposed to be Egyptian.
Yes.
And we were in this kind of hieroglyphic kind of pose. And
That's
it's
right.
crazy.
And I remember that day so vividly. It's not that much I remember too more from way back then, but I do remember that, and it's so awesome.
And that's what's crazy, because we've done so much. You meet so many people, and sometimes these jobs flash by where you're not so sure you know the face, but you're not sure where you met them, and
Yep.
that's one of the things that I'm like, I'm very clear. I know where we met. So
Yep.
you
Yep.
you were part of this legacy, this juggernaut that was Bernice Johnson, that
Yes.
came out of Queens. Oh my God.
Yes. Come on. I mean, they changed my life. They, I am who I am because of them. Yeah, and the reason why I got to Police Athletic League is because of the Bernice Johnson students, the great Carolyn Vance DeVore and Audrey Lawrence, my true posses from BJ's. They were the ones that said, "Come." They took me under their wing, and they said, "Come on, Valarie, do this job," which was teaching, which was going around the neighborhoods, teaching numbers, and they would perform on the streets, and we would perform for them, and it was amazing. And Bernice Johnson was like that. It was all inclusive. Not only did you learn how to dance fiercely in all genres,
That they did.
ballet, Afro-Cuban, tap, modern dance, flamenco, all that kind of stuff. She also trained you on the other side of the stage. We had to, operate lights. I was teaching at the age of 11. I had my own classes. Oh yeah.
See, that
We had to like sew costumes. We were gigging, and events and concerts and prisons and performing, and it was a whole lifestyle on how to work in this business and how to present yourself in this business and how to be professional in this business and how to be a team player in this business and how to not get out of line in this business and think you are better than. You humble yourself, you ingratiate yourself. It's beautiful competition. I learned all that besides my incredible parents and my family, my sister, but I learned that as well from Bernice Johnson and those students and those teachers.
Great Googa Mooga, because I remember when you guys, we revisited each other. I used to work for another legend who spoke so highly of Bernice, named Frank Hatchett. I mean,
yes, oh my God. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, he loved Bernice, and we would, like, when you guys came to it's now Broadway Dance Center, but it was JoJo's Dance Factory. When you kids came, it was like we were so excited, because it was like, even though we were all in around the same age, we knew that you guys had been in the trenches for a long time, and y'all were a well-oiled machine. So they would come and y'all would slay. They were slaying before the term was coined. Slayage. Y'all were the slayage back then.
Thank you so much.
We would just be like, oh my God. I remember we were in so much awe, and the talent that came out of that studio.
between the choreographers, the dancers, the directors, for Michael Peters
Michael
and
Peters.
oh, come on, Lester Wilson,
Lester
and
Wilson.
oh my God, and then the teachers that came to teach us, Gail Gaudreau and everybody from Ailey and Joffrey Ballet and all this kind of stuff. I mean, it was true mastery, and all, of course, all the dancers that became, especially during that time, because we're talking about the late 60s, early 70s. And so when the variety shows and were really prevalent on television, like most of those dancers were from BJs, you know what I mean? Of course, the great Candy Brown was one of the first, not one of the first, because you're not that old, but one of the premier Bob Fosse dancers, and Eliza with a Z, and on Broadway. I mean, the list goes on. And then I got a chance to work with Candy Brown, and one of my heroes, and Gary Chapman and Frances Morgan, and
I danced with those two. Good.
Right. I mean, and the list goes on and on and on, and I thank them from the bottom of my heart for everything they gave me and taught me.
And you're passing that on. You're passing that on. And I just want to say that the important thing, if you take your child to a dance studio, please understand that this is preparing them for life.
Yeah.
If you take your child to a piano teacher, an art teacher, I said piano, but any kind of music, this is preparing your child for life. This is preparing your child to be a citizen of the world.
Yes.
And to be someone that's going to contribute, whether they pursue the arts or not. It's the training and the foundation, because that's what it is. It's a foundation.
And the discipline. And the discipline. I was just about to say that, my love. It's even if you don't choose that as your profession, those lessons will carry you through corporate world, digging a ditch, through whatever medicine or whatever it is. It's amazing what the arts can do.
It's a discipline, to echo, a discipline, a foundation, a direction. It helps you with your self-esteem. It helps you how to carry yourself in the world. I can't sing the praises enough of having been a part of that world of the arts, and still continuing to be in the arts. So, okay, you were born basically in the arts. You understood it at 2 years old that you knew this was something you wanted to do?
Yeah, my mom and dad said they knew when I was like 2 years old that I was going to be a dancer. I said I was going to be a dancer, and I'm going to be a dancer, and that's all she wrote. And that's all she wrote. My dad used to say, I used to eat, sleep, and drink dance. That's all I ever wanted to do.
Wow. But having said that, because this is the thing that I know people fear. Oh, the arts, they're hard. Well, life is hard.
Yeah.
So, but the thing that you did was you had a clear trajectory, an intention of what it was that you wanted to do.
Yes.
And so, just to give a little background, especially at the time that we were doing our thing as quote unquote dancers, there were people that transitioned and became, like the triple threats. But there were also people that had a hard time transitioning out of being a dancer. And you did that.
Right. Yeah, I did. Yeah. And there were specific steps that I took, to make that transition. You know what I mean? And I think because of Bernice Johnson's training, because of my family, because of my sister, they helped me navigate how to do that, trial and error, people that, took me under their wing. And back at the time, they, dancers were not known, or they wanted to be seen, not heard.
Exactly.
It's like, you know what I mean? You can't act, you can't do that. And I knew once I transitioned from wanting to be a ballerina to modern dance, and then wanting to do Broadway, and do those great roles where you were required to be a triple threat. I was like, okay, I need to act and to sing. So how do I do that? So what you do, you take your classes.
Exactly.
And then all the casting people knew me just as a dancer. They didn't
Right.
want to see for those
Right.
roles. So
Right.
I had to navigate. How do I do that? So I had to stop going for those dancer roles.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
so
that's
that
hard,
means I
y'all.
had, yeah, and that's
That's
not
hard.
easy because now you're talking about you're not making money in that respect,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so stop taking those auditions for those roles for now them to see you in a whole nother light.
Right.
And at the meantime, I was doing fashion shows and industrials to keep, money coming in, to pay
Mm-hmm.
my rent and food on the table, and to continue to take classes
Mm-hmm.
until that transition happened. And I had to pray to God that it was all going to work out. You know what I mean? By
Mm-hmm.
stepping back, and being totally fearful that no one was going to see me make that transition,
Wow.
and I took those steps to do that. And people, you have to do that. You have, because most, as I said, the problem was most people saw me just as a dancer and a singer, kind of. They didn't
Key.
see me as the Anita in West Side Story or Julie in Showboat, or you know what I mean, and the roles that I ended up doing. So I had to make them see me in a whole nother light.
See, and that's the thing. Intention, faith.
Yep.
You have to
Yep.
decide. You don't let people dictate who you are. You have to decide who you are, how you want to be seen. You get to do the telling. It's not the other way around. A lot of people think, oh, somebody's going to tell. No, 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 no.
No, no.
If you want to create a life that you want, you have to do it. You have to
Yep.
do it.
Yep.
You have
Yep.
to make the decision. And see, the thing is, if I have people that are dancing out there, and again, we're talking about a different time. Things have changed a great deal, but at that time, that was very difficult. That was a hard decision that you made.
Yep.
And
Oh yeah.
because the casting directors, the agents, if you're a dancer, you're a dancer, you're a dancer, period.
Yep.
Like Val said, what? We don't speak. We just dance. No, no,
Yeah.
no. So she
And we
had to,
really, and we really don't sing that well. You know what I
and we
mean?
don't
That's
sing
what
that
they
well.
thought of.
That's right.
Yep.
But that's right. So okay, so you made that transition.
Yep.
You stuck it through. You had
Yep.
that clear intent, even though there was some fog and some haze sometimes. But
Yes.
that is the journey.
Yeah.
Is to
Yeah.
walk to where there's no fog and there's sunlight. So you
Yep.
did that. So now I'm going to jump a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You make the transition, you start to get roles.
Yep.
Well, Julian Showboat,
Yep.
Anita on West Side, West Side Story.
Right.
Now, how did the Bob Fosse connection happen? Oh,
So,
folks, I want y'all to understand. If you don't know who Bob Fosse is, please Google him. He is, again, legend. We're talking about a pace setter,
yeah.
a pace setter.
Yes. In all fields, with cinematically, film wise, orchestration wise, Broadway wise, changing the trajectory of color on Broadway, adding, yeah. I mean, he did a lot. And how that happened was, what happened was,
What happened?
um, um, I started my journey really early in my career.
Mm-hmm.
When I was, let me just jump back a little bit. I won't
Yeah.
harp on it, but let me just jump back a little bit. And so I went to the Performing Arts High School, dance major, ballet major first, then transferred over to modern. And as I said, when I saw my first Broadway show, which was The Wiz, I said, okay, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like 16 years old. And then I ended up as I said, I ended up doing the Wiz movie, and I left high school to do it.
Wow.
Because in performing arts, you could not work and be in class at the same time. So I made a conscious choice to leave. So I started working early in my career. And so, and then my dad said, okay, you're going to take that money and you're going to graduate from professional children's school at Wigan.
Okay.
So anyway, so literally, so now I'm like 16, 17. I auditioned for a show called Broadway Musical, and unfortunately closed the day after it opened.
Wow.
And I never forget, I was at a little pub right next door to the theater, cleaning out my stuff.
Yeah.
And I opened, and I had a backstage, and I opened the backstage, and I saw an audition for Bob Fosse.
That was a trade paper.
Yeah, that was the trade paper. Actually, you know what? I miss my lineage. Before this happened, I had auditioned for Bob for All That Jazz.
Wow.
And so this is literally, this was like 16, 17, 18. This all happened around these 3 years. I auditioned for it, got to the very end, was much too young to do this show, but I got that far.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the first time I was introduced to Bob's work was seeing the movie Kiss Me Kate, and him and Carol Haney in a piece that he choreographed for them too. And I was like, I have to work with him. So I went to the audition for All That Jazz, made it all the way to the end, did not get it. And then, so now let's pick up from where I left off. The show that closed, opened the backstage, the trade paper, and there was an audition for his project called Dancing. It was the first national tour. It was on Broadway. And now we're asking for the first touring company. I'm like, oh my God, I have to have this job. I have to have this job. And I got that job.
Dang.
And it was amazing because it was the first national tour. So half of the original company was with us. Then you got all these newbies. And then there were 5 Black principals. Because the show was all principal dancers. And that was not
done. That was not done, y'all.
Unless it was an all-Black show. If it was an all-Black show, that's something different. But if it was a white show, it usually was either just 2 of us, a Black man and a Black woman. That was it. But Bob chose 5 Black principals. The great Hinton Battle, the great Stanley Perryman, the outstanding Allison William Foster, and myself. Is that right? Is that right? Did I say 5?
You left, there's one more person.
Oh, please forgive me. And the amazing late Gary Chapman.
Yes, indeed.
Late, great Gary Chapman. So it was, from Bernie Johnson. So anyway, so that's how I got to work with the great Bob Fosse.
Amazing.
And then,
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So just to give you a little info, folks, when a Broadway show opens, it has a run, and then something called the First National Tour is put together. And in that tour, that's the first time that the country gets to see what's happening on Broadway. So if you're in a town and you can't get to New York, the First National Tour is like being on Broadway, like going to the Broadway show. You are looking at the cream of the crop that comes to your town.
Yeah.
A First National. So for you to have that experience and that show Dancing, I remember seeing that show, and it blew my mind. It blew my mind. I was in that audience with my head just exploding in all these different directions.
Being a great dancer like you are. I mean, this was the first show that had just dancing. It was 3 acts of dancing. They've never had that on Broadway before. And there was no book.
Right. That was not done. Again, that just was not done. So as a dancer, to sit and see that told me what was possible.
Yeah.
What you have to think it for it to become. You have to think it. You have to see it. So okay, you have this first experience, and again, if you're not familiar with Bob Fosse, please Google him. He broke the mold. He broke the mold.
Yeah. That's all you can say. I mean, because he really did. You know, people are doing this stuff now. Michael Jackson, Beyonce with, put a ring, the ring on the finger, the single ladies. I mean, Kelly Rowland, she did Who's Got the Pain. I mean, so yeah, he's so prevalent. And of course, then they had the great FX series, Fosse Verdon, and talking about their personal life as well as.
Which you worked on.
Yes, I got to reconstruct his original choreography for numbers in that
Now,
piece, and
again,
how
that's
honored.
insane.
Yeah, I know. I'm part of the legacy, the Bird and Fosse legacy, where we reconstruct his choreography through master classes, and then the opportunity, to do this FX project. Thank you, Andy Blakenbuehler, the original choreographer, and Susie Meisner, who took over for him, for making all this happen for us. And of course, the entire producing team, Lin Manuel and his Tommy Kail and all that kind of great people.
One of the things is, when we talked before, you always have remained humble in this industry, because I want you guys to understand that what Val has achieved and continues to achieve, she has broken the mold in her own way by having a clear vision. So I want to just jump back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because the beauty is, you have been mentored throughout your career, and then in turn you are mentoring.
Yes.
So the thing, I'm kind of ahead of myself a little bit, because I want to touch back on that, the importance of mentoring, the importance of being a mentor to someone, or a whole bunch of someone's.
Yes.
Okay, so you do dancing, and how did Broadway happen with Fosse?
Well, so after I did dancing, did a couple of more things. The Cotton Club movie came through, and
That was a
a couple of
fabulous project to be a part of.
Oh my God, that was a whole nother story. Cotton Club movie, and I did a show called Grind.
Yes.
And then I get this call from Bob, and I didn't even know it was Bob. You know what I mean? I thought it was somebody playing with me. We had the voicemail. What was it called?
Answering machine.
Answering machine.
We used to have the answering machine
back in the day. And Bob calls and says, Valarie, I'm doing this backers audition. I would love for you to join us. And it's like, this ain't Bob. Say it. Only Bob. But it was. And I did a backers audition for a new show called Big Deal. And then he obviously raised the money through that backers audition, and he asked me to be part of his skeleton crew, which is a group of dancers he would always get together to help him realize the choreography for the show. And I was one of those 5 dancers to do that. Oh my God, died and went to heaven. And now
skeleton crew was a coveted position to get if you were a dancer, because you were on the ground of the creation of that project.
Yes.
You were on the ground. You were the mold. You were the clay for that vision of that project.
Right. Oh my God. I died and went to heaven. I died and went to heaven. This is Bob Fosse.
That's right.
Oh my God. And so, then I helped give auditions. Now I'm that girl on the other side, of the room, you know what I mean? Helping and demonstrating the combinations and doing all that. And then once the show was up, I had a great show myself. I was, one of the famous trios that he would created, Dancing Dan in the Shadows, me, Gary Chapman, the great Barbara Yeager. And then I was his dance captain. And then I was, I played a floozy. I played a band singer in the show. So it was just everything. It was absolutely everything. So that was my Broadway.
That was your debut.
No. Was that my Broadway debut?
With him.
Oh, with him. Yeah, with him. Yeah.
With him. So I want to fast forward to Fosse on Broadway.
Yes. And so now we jump 100 years later.
Yeah.
And I get this call, and they say, Valarie, we want you to come down, and I had an audition. Come down and audition for this new show we got called Fosse. And it so happens at the time was the producers of Live Ant, who I actually just did Julie and Showboat with on tour. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, sure. And so I got the starring role. Myself and Jane Lanier were the stars of Fosse. And it was kind of like I did the Cheetah Liza roles and Jane Lanier did the Gwen Verdon roles, which was awesome.
And again,
I'm
sitting in the house with my mind blown. My mind is just, my brain is exploding. Because again, we're talking about the cream of the cream up on that stage. I mean,
we had an amazing cast. The cast were just ridiculous.
The cast was incredible. You were on fire. You were just, life is just a bowl of cherries, girl. When you sang that, I had a new appreciation for that song.
Right. And that song was originally that orchestration, and was originally the opening closing of the show of Big Deal, sung by the great Loretta Devine.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
And so, oh my God. I mean, I can't even pretend to be close to what she did with that song.
Yeah, but you did you. No, you did you. That because I saw Big Deal, and I saw her, and she continues to be just mind blowing.
She's a light force.
Yeah, but what you did, what I appreciated as a fellow performer, I appreciated that you made it yours. Right. That it was not you doing Loretta Devine, it was you doing you. Right. And I had a new appreciation for that song.
Right? Oh my God. And that was Bob, of course, with Harold Gordon as well as, orchestrator and musical director and stuff. But Bob had such an ear for music. He was such a great musician without being a musician. I mean, he probably did. There's so many things I still learn about Bob. But yeah, I mean, the way he came up with how to sing that song, and also the song was very dear because that was his motto. That was his motto. That's what he lived.
Oh, yep. Wow.
Yeah, and I found out because Gwen Verdon told me so.
Oh, that's a beautiful piece of information. That was his motto. Life is just a bowl of cherries.
Yep, wow. That was his motto. Yeah, and when I do my one-woman shows, that's what I always tell that story.
Stay tuned for part 2 of the fabulous Valarie Pettiford's interview. I get so geeked up when I hear an inspiring story. If you are one of the many, 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 many people out there who's working a job you hate or following a career that no longer burns for you, begin to see what it is that you actually want to do. Write it down wherever you want to write it down. Write it on paper, write it on your phone, your computer, your tablet. Whatever works, write it down. Begin to see yourself having it, achieving it, creating it. Willpower, trust, faith. Don't tell yourself you can't. Don't allow anyone else to tell you you can't. Thank you for listening. If you want to find out more information about my guest, just look at the show notes. All of the links are there. And remember to roll with peace in mind.